Most people think anxiety is something that happens to them. What if I told you it is something your brain is actively choosing, and you can make it choose differently, starting today? Think about the last time anxiety completely took over your day. Not just a little nervousness, the real kind, where your chest is tight, your thoughts are racing, and no matter what you do, you cannot seem to get out of your own head. You try to push through it. You tell yourself to calm down. You remind yourself that everything is fine, and none of it works. Because talking yourself out of anxiety using the same brain that is generating the anxiety is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The problem is not your mindset. The problem is that you are using the wrong tools. By the end of this video, you are going to have 3 habits that actually interrupt anxiety at its source. These are not the usual tips you have already heard 100 times. These are specific, science-backed techniques that most people have never been taught. And you can use every single one of them today, whether you are in the middle of a panic or just trying to stop the low-level hum of worry that never fully goes away. I am saving the most powerful one for last. It is the one that rewires how your brain responds to stress over time, not just in the moment. And when I explain the science behind it, I think it is going to completely change how you understand your own anxiety. But first, let me tell you something that most anxiety advice completely ignores. Your anxiety is not random. It is not just floating around in your brain waiting to ruin your day. It follows a pattern. A trigger fires. Your brain interprets it as a threat. Your body responds, and then your thoughts amplify everything until the feeling snowballs into something that feels completely unmanageable. That cycle happens fast, usually in seconds, and the reason most coping strategies fail is that they try to interrupt the cycle too late, after the snowball is already rolling. The habits I am about to show you work because they interrupt the cycle early. They target the trigger, the interpretation, and the physical response. And together, they do something that anxiety management advice rarely promises and actually delivers. They make you feel like you are in control again. Here is exactly how this works. Habit number 1, cognitive diffusion. This one is going to sound a little strange at first, but stay with me because the psychology behind it is genuinely fascinating. Most of us relate to our anxious thoughts as if they are facts. Your brain says something bad is going to happen, and some part of you just believes it. Your brain says you are going to fail. You are going to embarrass yourself. People are going to judge you. And even when you know rationally that these thoughts are not necessarily true, they still feel true. And that feeling of truth is what gives them power over you. Cognitive diffusion, a technique developed through acceptance and commitment therapy, breaks that spell. It is based on a simple but profound idea. You are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just events happening in your mind. They are mental weather. They pass through, they make noise, but they do not have to control what you do or how you feel. Here is the specific technique. The next time an anxious thought shows up, instead of engaging with it, just label it. Out loud or in your head, say, I am having the thought that something bad is going to happen. I am having the thought that I am going to mess this up. I am noticing a feeling of dread. That tiny shift in language creates distance. It moves the thought from something you are inside of to something you are observing. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that this kind of self-distancing language reduced emotional intensity significantly, even when people used it for just a few seconds. Because the moment you label the thought, your brain shifts from being consumed by it to watching it, and a thought you are watching has far less power than a thought you are living inside. So the action today is this. Pick your most common anxious thought, the one that shows up most often. Write it down. Then rewrite it, starting with the words, I am having the thought that. Read both versions out loud and notice how different they feel. That difference is cognitive diffusion working in real time. Now, that habit works on the mental layer of anxiety. The next one works on something most people never think to address. But first, here is something that stopped me cold when I first read it. A study from Penn State University found that 91% of the things people worry about never actually happen. 91%! Nearly all of the mental suffering we put ourselves through is preparation for disasters that will never arrive. Your brain is an incredibly powerful prediction machine. The problem is that it is catastrophically bad at knowing when to stop predicting. Habit number 2. Scheduled worry time. I know what you were thinking. That sounds ridiculous. You want me to schedule my anxiety? But hear me out, because this technique has some of the strongest research behind it of anything in this video. Here is the problem with trying to suppress anxious thoughts. It does not work. In fact, the more you try not to think about something, the more your brain circles back to it. Psychologists call this the rebound effect. The classic example: if someone tells you not to think about a white bear, that is now the only thing you can think about. The same thing happens when you tell yourself to stop worrying. The resistance creates persistence. Scheduled worry time works differently. Instead of fighting the thoughts, you give them a specific time and place. You pick 15 minutes each day, ideally not close to bedtime, and you tell yourself, that is when I worry. When anxious thoughts come up outside of that window, you do not suppress them. You just say, not now. I will deal with you at 4 o'clock. And then you actually do. You sit down, you let the worries come, you write them out, you think them through. And then when the timer goes off, you close it and move on. What this does is extraordinary. It teaches your brain that worrying has a container. It is not an emergency that needs to be dealt with immediately every single time it arises. Researchers at Binghamton University found that people who practiced scheduled worry time experienced a significant reduction in intrusive anxious thoughts throughout the day within just 2 weeks. 2 weeks. The action today is simple. Pick a time. Set a 15-minute block in your calendar right now. Label it whatever you want, but commit to it. When anxiety shows up outside that window, acknowledge it. Write it down if you need to, and remind yourself it has a time and place. You are not ignoring it, you are managing it. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but what about the physical side of anxiety? The racing heart, the tight chest, the restless energy that will not leave your body no matter what your brain does. Because for a lot of people, that physical feeling is the hardest part. That is exactly what Habit 3 addresses, and this is the one I have been building toward. This is the one that most people have never heard of, and once you understand why it works, you will never think about anxiety the same way again. Here is a quick pattern interrupt first, though, because this blew my mind when I first came across it. When scientists studied the brains of long-term meditators, they expected to find that meditation had simply quieted the anxious parts of the brain. What they actually found was different. The amygdala, which is your brain's threat detection center, had physically shrunk. Not just quieted, shrunk. The organ responsible for generating the anxiety response had become measurably smaller through the consistent practice of one specific habit, which means this is not just about managing anxiety. It is about physically changing the brain that creates it. Habit number 3, body scanning. And not the vague, generic version you might have tried once and dismissed. A specific, structured version with a purpose most people never understand. Here is what body scanning actually does. Anxiety does not just live in your thoughts. It lives in your body. Tension in your jaw, tightness in your shoulders, a clenched stomach, a chest that never fully relaxes. Most people carry these physical symptoms of anxiety all day without ever noticing them because they are so focused on their thoughts. And those unnoticed physical sensations keep feeding the anxiety cycle. They are signals your nervous system is reading as evidence that something is wrong, even when nothing is wrong. A body scan interrupts that feedback loop by bringing conscious attention to each part of your body, from your feet upward, noticing where you are holding tension without trying to immediately fix it, just noticing. What happens when you observe physical tension with deliberate, non-judgmental attention is that the tension begins to release on its own. Your nervous system interprets that attention as a signal of safety. You are essentially telling your body, I see you. You are okay. We are not in danger. Here is how to do it. Lie down or sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Start at the bottom of your feet and slowly move your attention upward through your body. Spend 5 to 10 seconds on each area. Notice any tightness, heaviness, tingling, or discomfort. Do not try to change it. Just notice it with curiosity. Move slowly. The whole process takes about 10 minutes. Do this once a day. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be in silence. You just have to show up for it. Because what you are doing, slowly and quietly, is training your nervous system to stop treating your own body as a source of threat. And that training compounds. The more you do it, the more baseline calm you carry into every situation. The amygdala shrinks. The anxiety response quiets. Not because you are suppressing anything, but because you are genuinely, physically, at the cellular level, becoming less reactive. That is not a coping strategy. That is a transformation. So let me put this all together for you now. You have 3 habits that kill anxiety in minutes and build resilience over time. Cognitive diffusion, to strip the power from anxious thoughts the moment they arrive. Scheduled worry time, to give your anxiety a container so it stops hijacking your entire day. And body scanning, to address the physical layer that most anxiety advice completely misses, and to gradually rewire the part of your brain that generates the fear response in the first place. Picture this. You wake up, and before your day begins, you spend 10 minutes with a body scan. You head into your morning feeling grounded instead of already bracing for impact. An anxious thought shows up, and instead of spiraling, you say to yourself, I am having the thought that this is going to go badly, and you notice it lose its grip. During the day, when worry tries to creep in, you say, I have a time for you. 4 o'clock, not now. And at 4 o'clock, you sit down, you worry properly, you think it through, and then you close it. That is not a life without anxiety. That is a life where you are bigger than your anxiety. And that is the only goal worth chasing. Drop a comment right now and tell me which of these 3 habits you are going to try first. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know which one hits home for you. And if you know someone who deals with anxiety, send this to them today, not tomorrow, today. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone you care about is hand them a tool that actually works. Your brain learned to be anxious, which means it can learn something else. And if you want to go even deeper, watch the next video where I show you the exact morning routine that keeps anxiety low before your day even begins, and why most people are accidentally doing the opposite.